We're having a quick look here at quite a recent built laser. It's actually a 2011 laser, and we're just going to highlight some of the things that you need to look at and be aware of in terms of checking the age and the number of the boat. So in boats like this, they will have a plaque inside the boat, and in this case they'll be back at the back of the cockpit. And this is issued by the International Sailing Association Federation, and it's impossible to move these, and it clearly gives us the complete number of the boat. And that's absolutely vital. It's actually a complete guide to the age of the boat. Think in this context, think of the number plate on your car as giving you a complete guide to the age of the boat. And it's illegal to actually change a number plate on the car to actually try and change its age. Exactly the same thing with the boat. You cannot, in fact, in this case, you wouldn't be able to take that plaque off and change it. It disintegrates. So very important on that. On the really old lasers, the actual number of the boat is actually embossed on the hull underneath the bow fitting. So again, if they've got a very old boat, just ask them to look underneath there. It will give them the number, no problem at all. And what we need to actually do is ensure, this is a very common mistake, is most people think that the sail number that is on the sail, and this actually isn't a laser sail, but in this case, you can see the number on the boat is clearly 1005. Very common situation is that people buy second-hand sails to go with their boat, but don't change the number. When they come to advertise the boat, they think the sail number is there, and in actual fact that can be very misguiding in terms of the age of the boat. It is what is the number on the hull is very important. And on very recent boats, in the last 15 years, they'll have what's called a HIN number on the back. And the last 2 digits of that will actually give the year the boat was built. So in this case, this is a 2011 built boat. That's impossible, virtually nigh impossible to actually change on a boat. So those are the sort of very important things when you're asking questions and validating the age of the boat and the actual number of the boat, to ask the number of the boat on the boat itself is the one thing you're interested in, and is the direct guide to how old the boat actually is. And just as in a car, the age of the car is a very clear correlation between the age and the second-hand value. Exactly the same in a boat, very strong correlation between the actual number of the boat, it and its age, and therefore its value. What we're talking about in terms of ensuring that things don't need repair is, again, this is a laser and a centerboard. Clearly it's a centerboard, and they could say, yes, it's got centerboard, but as you can see, it's got a huge chunk out of it. And this is actually quite common in lasers, but that is extremely difficult to repair. That would cost, we would quote about £100 to fix that if it came to us to repair. A replacement centerboard is actually brand new, costs £300. If you're only buying a boat for 500 quid, actually having to buy a brand new one for 300 quid is quite another substantial outlay. And again, would completely affect the value as to whether it's a good value boat. Also, they're very, very difficult to come across second hand. We do refurbish them, but we would sell them for 150 quid. Even that is a significant outlay. This just highlights why it's very important to actually really ask them closely as to what the full inventory of the boat actually is. Is all the equipment in good working order, and is any of it damaged? Because in actual fact, when you go to inspect the boat, you want to be able to have printed out that inventory and be prepared to go along and check these out. And again, if you could go in with cash ready to pay, and they show you this, you can actually and they haven't told you that is damaged. At that stage, either not pay the full asking price or get a significant reduction that you can live within. Always, all the sails, completely unroll them as we've done with this sail, and do a complete visual check over the whole sail. Particularly look all the way along on most sails, all the way along the luff rope here where it goes up the mast, particularly where the battens here actually would come, because there would be lots of wear there. This is not insurmountable, but if you've got a problem there, it's going to cost probably £35 to £40 a sail repair to get fixed, and you will probably need to do it before you go sailing. The other very common one is right at the head. Gain maximum wear, where you'll get maximum wear use from sailing, and also just hoisting the sail up. Check all the buttons are in the sail. It's not a disaster if they're actually missing, but again, it's probably about £20 of actually replacement cost, and you've got to get the right length one, which is sort of can be very awkward. But also look around all the button pockets for wear. Very common place that they will go on. And the other really good one, important to look at, is along the complete foot, the bottom of the sail, both where it's attached onto the boom at the outer end, and particularly in the middle of it, where it would hit the shroud when it's actually let out. Again, you will quite often find crease marks there. If the sail's been very badly folded instead of being rolled, quite often what you'll get is crease lines, vertical crease lines, and those can be a real problem. If these sails start to delaminate, they are useless. And it's no point in trying to repair them, because the entire fabric will actually just go, and that's usually partly because they're actually folded up. If they're rolled, they shouldn't come to a problem. But unroll all the sails, particularly a spinnaker. A spinnaker quite often can end up with lots of little snag holes in them. And again, back to our very popular thing, the mice love them as nesting material. Very important piece of kit with any boat is the mast and the boom. And what I would really want to do when I'm actually checking it when I've arrived is I want to make sure this mast is straight. So I'm going to look straight down the mast track. You will be able to see very easily if there's a significant distortion or a kink in it. Also, what I want to do is look at fore and aft. Yes, the mast tapers above the shrouds, very designed, but I want to make sure this is straight and not a banana. Okay, you will be able to see slight bends, don't worry. But if you can actually really see that this is bent and it's got kinks in it, you want to be pretty wary about this. A new one of these masts, this is for Laser 2000, a new one of these is 850 quid. That's a big outlay for you, and they're very difficult to come across second-hand. Really difficult to come across second-hand. The only times you usually see a mast away from a boat is where the boat is an insurance write-off. Look at all the ropes, and actually straight away I can notice on this one, the main halyard here is very worn. Not a disaster, you can sail with this mast, but that could well go quite quickly after having it, and that's not funny, because suddenly your sail comes down, and it will probably cost around about £15 to £25, depending on how good a quality piece of rope you use to replace. I would definitely look at what we call all the standing rigging, the shrouds and the forestay that hold the mast up. Go all the way down the length of it. You are looking for any strands of wire that's actually coming undone, particularly from where it's actually clamped onto like these, to make sure that it's going to be strong and workable, and that you're not going to have your mast fall down pretty quickly after you have to go on sailing. Hopefully your boat will come with a launching trolley, and that's very common with most boats. Most boats are sewed with a trolley. Be careful and inspect the cradle on them in particular. Make sure that is completely intact and is properly attached to these upright supports. If in actual fact this is broken, or it's not attached properly, can find that you will do an awful lot of damage to the bottom of your boat just by moving it and trailing it around. Again, it's fixable, but it will cost you money to get fixed. If it hasn't got a trolley, or it's a rust bucket of a trolley, again, we make our own trolleys. I'm looking at round about £250 to £400 for the average launching trolley, brand new, and they're nigh on impossible to come across second hand.